how are you this morning? I hope you guys are doing well and healthy and everything going very well. Today is the last class of Christian economics, the principle of economics for Christians. I try to pick the topics that we needed to think about, and it's not an economics class, but still, how can we see the economic activities as a Christians? And that's why the class designed for. Today is we're gonna talk about, we produce a lot of wealth and capitals, and then it's not distributed very fairly. Some are really poor, some countries are really poor, and like America is a pretty rich country compared with other countries, and then so we have a lot of capitals and wealth, right? So how can we use it? How can we redistribute our wealth that God gave us? As a steward, and what is the effective way that we can redistribute our wealth? And so today I'm going to talk about how Christians should help others, right? And there's a lot of ways that we can help the poor. And there is a personal level, and company and organizational level, and then government level. Sometimes a lot of people, they provide the incomes for the kind of donating for the people, right, who are struggling with their life. And some people provide their money to give them missionaries, to give the people who are struggling in overseas countries, and then that's a personal level. I try to provide some little money for the students who really want to learn, but they don't have any money to support their education, right? So I provide money to support the students who really want to learn, and like this, that's a personal level. What about the company and organization level? And in America, if you donate the money to non-profit organization, non-profit and non-government organization, and then they can get a tax credit, right? When they file the income tax, and then they got some credit for that, for the donation. So companies and organizations, foundations, and they try to give their money to the non-profit organization, charitable organization, and other, whether they are Christian organization or non-Christian organization, and they donate the money. It's a lot of money. What about the government level? Government collect the taxes from individuals, from companies, and then sometimes they got a tariff from other countries like that, right? And then they kind of invested their money to for social service, and then they provide welfare for health and living. So that is kind of a redistribution of the wealth. Sometimes it helps a lot of people, right? It helps a lot of people who are struggling with their life, who are struggling with their health. But the kind of helping is helping produce always the positive outcome. That's a big problem. That's why I picked this topic. And even though sometimes you try to help, but still it doesn't help, sometimes you hurt them. Have you thought about it? Okay, first of all, let's see how organization level, how individual levels they can donate their money to help the people who are struggling with their life. And National Center for Charitable Statistics, and it shows that in America, and then currently about 1.5 million nonprofit or tax exemption organizations in 2016. 1.5 million, it's a lot, right? So charities one, it's a breakdown. It's about 1.05 million charities, and then about 100,000 foundation, and about 369,000 associated with the civil and partner or membership and other organizations. Mean that what is the charities and non-profit organization and what is the foundation? Do you know the guys the kind of differences between them? The charitable organization totally depends on what? They don't create any profit usually, right? That's a non-profit organization. Charitable organization, sometimes they donate the products and sell to other sell them back to people, and then they can create some profit, and then they have to report, right? Tax report, and then they gotta pay the tax for that. And that, but here is about I try to do charitable and charitable non-profit organization. They don't create a profit, right? But it's based on it's not organization, but that's an organization. But foundation is different from the non-profit organization. This is kind of it give them tax benefit, so they tax exempt. This is from personal wealth, personal. It's not a non-profit organization, but it's a kind of a non-profit organization, but it's not this is a kind of a company or families, and then they made a foundation and for tax exemption, and then but they certain money every year, certain amount of money is kind of accumulated in the foundation, and then they can donate to their non-profit organization. That's the foundation. So nowadays, like Clinton, create a foundation, and a lot of athletes and like a tennis player or baseball player, and they create the foundation, and they support some countries and children in Africa like this, right? That's a foundation. So they put their certain amount of income to what? Their foundation. And then, so what is it? The capital is kind of accumulated, and the foundation is a big donor to the non-profit organization. They donate and they do something to others. That's a foundation. So just an easy way to remember. So organization is kind of non-profit organization and create by some people, but foundation is created by family or individuals, right? Let's see some statistics in 2019, 2019, and according to the most recent data available, there's about more than 1.54. That one is 2016, and this one is 2019. There's a charitable organizations. Charitable organization, they donate. They got the donation from the companies, individuals, and then they use them back. They use the money to others, right? In United States, yeah. So look at this, and then governmental contract and fees about, so revenues, the tax, yeah, the source of revenue for the tax exemption organization in 2012 were program service revenues, including governmental contract and fees and contribution gift and governmental grant and 21% and due and special event income and rental income and net sales is 6%, right? That's the basic source of revenue. Let's see a little bit general how much they have money from countries, and the amazing thing is surprising thing is that kind of as time goes by and versa, the non-profit organization is kind of growing and their donations is growing, right? Look at this, and American gave about almost 450 billions in 2019. This reflects about 5.1 increase in from the last year, in 2018, right? It's a lot. So 450 billions, and corporation giving 2019 is about 21 billions, about 13%, 30% is increase. Just compare with this amount, the corporation is not that big, right? But foundation giving is about increased about 75.69, so about triple, more than the triple and half. It's a lot, right? And look at this, the 2019, and then the largest source of charitable giving came from what? Individual. Just think about in corporation and foundation. That is your corporate is usually they try to create what? Capital, right? But still for the tax exemption, and they try to give out. But foundation is what? They accumulate they accumulate certain amount of money, and then what? They give out to the charitable organization and non-profit organizations. It's a lot. But individual is 309.6 billion. Almost 70% of the giving donation. I think you guys, if you donate to churches and to other organizations, maybe you are the part of this one, right? So other resources of charitable giving were given by foundation is and 70% American, and what about the what? Bequest is a legacy. It's maybe 32 billions, and corporation is about $21 billion. Almost the same as this one, but this one is kind of corporation is the foundation is almost same. Legacy is kind of 33 billions, but corporate is almost same as this one, right? Maybe a lot of people when they died, and they kind of make a will, and then can you use my money for this one and this one, and then they donated their whole wealth to the schools and other countries and some charitable organization like this. That one is that one, right? And 2019, the majority of charitable dollars went to what? Religion. It's huge. I think that's the individuals. So a lot of Christians are giving out, and one of our church members, he went to India to help out the orphanage, and then the a church is helping with the orphanage, but the church had something, and they cannot do anymore, and then he still take care of the church's kind of the orphanage that church provide, but he doesn't have enough fund, and then he came to our church again and asked the church members, and then can you take care of each orphans, and then we can support them like this. And there's a lot of people give out like this, right? Oh, can I use this money to go this way and go that way, and then try to support digging walls, and because they don't have clear water. So a lot of reason that they invest money for the people's need, right? That's why almost 29% to religion and education is 40%, and human services 12%, and grant making foundation is 12%, and health is 9%. This is a distribution there, how they use the money, $450 billion, right? But this one is, even though it goes to religion, it's not all about their organizations are based on based on faith, right? Because of their faith, and they try to show their love to others, and that's why it kind of goes to religion. To given 2019 increase in every sector and double-digit growing, just think about education, so 12 point, and public society benefit 30%, and art and culture and humanities 12.6, and environmental and animal organizations 11.3. Their donations keep growing, right? Depends on the donor's interest, right? Oh, I'm interested in education like me, and then I donate the money to people who need for education, right? I read an article, and he's a musician, and he's really interested in provide clear water, and then he does something, and then he kind of advertise, promote the people. Okay, if you donate the money for your birthday party, and then we can dig a well, right? And a lot of people are interested, and even though they're like 10 years old, 8 years old, and they heard about it, how cool, right? And then, instead of doing my birthday party, can I have money to donate to the organization, so people are getting clear water, like this. There's a lot of things going on, right? Just think about it. So the charitable giving accounted for 2.1% of gross domestic income product 2018. It's a lot, right? Just think about the individuals and family philanthropy, and it's really like think about the humanity, and then try to take care of the humanity, right? And then about approximately 90% of a high net worth household give the charity, 90%. Look at this, and then depends on how much they give out. It's like if you go to church, and then depends on if you make less, and they give less. But sometimes, even though make less, and they donate a big portion of their incomes, big portion, right? And on average, high net worth donors gave about $29,000 to charity 2017, by comparison, was a general population household gave $250. Maybe, I don't know, generally if you go to church and if you don't give the tithe of your income, and then what, 1/10 of your income and approximately whatever, how you calculate it, and then basically household is about $2,500 they donate, right? That's a huge revenue of the source of the revenue in charitable organizations. Okay, so we can see how much people are interested in share their material things with others who are struggling in life, right? Because of their religious reason, because of their heart, and because of their philanthropic attitude and philosophy, whatever, and then anyway, they wanna share their material things with others, right? It's really generous. It's really generous and really nice and good. What are the problems of aid? We donate a lot of monies and then it goes to certain countries, and then what are the problems? So we don't force the donors, can you, you gotta donate and $1,000 per month, so you gotta donate and $50,000 per year. They don't regulate by the law to give out, right? But still people have a heart to share what they have with others who are struggling, right? But what are the problems of aid? Recently Haiti got hit by what, 7.2 magnitude of the earthquake. More than 2,000 people passed away. A lot of people lost their house, shelters, right? I heard that one of the missionaries who is working in Haiti, and someone said that there is more than 2,000 charitable organizations in Haiti. It means that a lot of organization goes into the country and try to help, but still really poor. They cannot get out of the poverty. Even though a lot of people try to share and rich countries pour out their capital into the poor countries, but still they're poor. They cannot get out of it. Billion dollars. Just think about rescue. The organization is a 1 year budget is about $100 billion, but still a lot of people are struggling, right? What's the problem? Even though we spend a lot of money on the people, but still they are struggling in life. They cannot get out of their poverty. Think about why. Why? Well, as a Christian, let's think about. When I see the organization doing the kind of aid ministry in overseas countries, and then they just give out. People rely on them. They don't work, but still give out. Like here, homeless people, right? I don't know. some of them like what? Lifestyle. Get out of the stress. Government to try to help them to rehabilitate and then try to go back to normal life, like other people, but they don't want to do it. How can we do that? So when we pass by who is best, those who asking for money. I have a job, I don't have a job, and I have 2 kids, I'm sick, whatever, blah, 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 and I'm homeless, help me, and then you can give $1, $2, maybe, $1, 50 cents. I don't know how much they can collect the money every month. I heard that in some places, and then they kind of begging the money, or sometimes wash the window, and then just ask money help, and then they $1 give them. They make around $300, maybe $100 per day, more than $100 per day. And just think about it, almost just stay there and begging or wash the window, and it's a lot. Someone who works in McDonald's, they barely make what? 25, even if they get paid $15 per hour, and they barely make what? $2,500, $2,500 before tax. But it's more than $100 to collect the cash, they don't have to pay the tax, right? Anyway, so when you give and when you donate, just think about the organization's purpose, what they are doing. So think about how beneficial, even though I donate $10, $5, $1 to them, and how it helped them to get out of the poverty, get out of the trouble. Sometimes we cannot do anything about that one because of the natural disaster, and sometimes, just think about it. If you, there is a lot of natural disaster in like Haiti, there's a big problem though, right? You cannot get out of it. You try to do something and what? And natural disaster come, and destroy the whole land of people's life. But I heard that what to compare with the Haiti is like this, and half is the Dominican Republic, half is what? The Haiti, right? It's totally different countries. I know they are so pretty, not wealthy, but Haiti has more problem than Dominican Republic. One of the reasons I heard that long time ago, so when they chopped the tree for their fire, and then without kind of replace, and then without planting other tree, and then they just chopping, right? And the ecosystem is destroyed, and then when the rain hit, heavy rain hit the ground, it's always kind of destroyed the land because they don't observe, they don't block the waters, rains, right? And then the soil is getting better, worse and worse, and they got no kind of defense from the natural disaster like a typhoon and and other and related rain disaster, right? And then in the other side, the other side in Dominican Republic, and then when they kind of chopped the tree for the fire, they always replace plant the trees, and they chop it and they plant it and then grow back, and then they still protect their land a lot because of that. Anyway, that's one of your kind of your evaluation about between two countries, and then why they are really suffered by the natural disaster. Some, up to some point we can do something, right? But if you know that only about 10 years later and 20 years later, we're gonna get the consequences. But it to go back to like before, it's hard to take a longer time because ecosystem is a kind of so is destroyed, already destroyed by during 10 years and 20 years, right? But it's hard to go back. Yeah, there is I'm gonna introduce you guys in the book when helping hurt. So the book is about how to alleviate the poverty without hurting the poor and yourself. Yeah, I'm gonna use the material that I already read the book, and I tried to take out the book and look through it, and then I found that someone is really summarized the book very well. So I'm gonna show the book based on his summary. So this is help us rethink about how we can help the poor. How can we help the poor to get out of the poverty? It's a really good way there. It's a really good way that I heard, I read, ever. Just what is the primary causes of poverty? Ever think about it? Why people are really poor? Why they are really struggling with, even though they work hard, right? They work hard. They are not lazy. If they are lazy, that's a consequence of the laziness. But work hard, but they are still struggling with the poverty. A lot of people, they are good. They are really nice people. There is 4 reasons. Kind of, you can see the yellow is about the cause of the poverty. Maybe the green is then how can we help them to get out of the poverty, right? There is 4 reasons people are struggling with the poverty, right? First one is a lack of knowledge, skills. They don't know knowledge, they don't know skill. What can they do? They can just do the simple labor work. It's a minimum pay, even though they work hard. It's not easy to, right? Think about the minimum jobs in America. When people just say if they get paid $15, but not everywhere. If they in California, if you get paid $15 per hour, around $2,500 people tax. If you pay tax, depends on how many you have a dependent. At least 10 to 20%. They barely bring the money to around $2,000. Because they don't have any knowledge, they don't have any skills and knowledge, and they have to find a simple work. And the whole family, wife work and husband work about $4,000. Can you make a living with $4,000 in America? Family? Maybe it's hard, minimum. What about the apartment rent nowadays? 1 bedroom is about $2,000. $1,500 to $2,000. Cheapest one $1,500 and $2,000. What about you gotta buy the car insurance? You have to pay the gas. And you gotta pay the utilities, right? And you should barely make, if you don't have kids and make $4,000, you can barely making living and save. That's why one of the reasons the lack of knowledge and skills. How can you get out of the if they are struggling with and lack of knowledge and skills? How can you help them to get out? Educate the poor. That's why government try to provide education with skills and some skills and jobs. Like if you go to adult schools and if you go to community college and if you go to special job training centers, and then you can get to learn about computers, about other stuff and basic things, and then you can work to live. But you can make a lot of money, but still, if you work, and then sometimes it's better than just you don't have any skills, right? No skills, no knowledge. What about the oppressed by the powerful people? They use a system. That is really hard to do that, right? Or sometimes the system is always for the what? Who has power, who has money. Just think about our tax systems. If you wanna make a little bit, redistribute the wealth, and then what? A little bit more, collect the tax more from the rich people, but they don't wanna do it, right? So if you go to European countries, I heard, and if you make a lot of money, and then you have to pay more money, taxes, and then around 40–50% of their incomes. So that's why they don't have to go to, they really, they don't have to go to medical school, and here, and if they want to go to, they want medical school because after that they can make a lot of money. But in other countries, not that much difference. In Italy, and I know they got paid a little more, but not like Americans. Look at this. That's why the Marxism kind of has power. Marxism has power, and critical theory has power. Vicious system and structure. It's always for the benefit for the what? Who has power and who has money. They think that, right? What about, and that's we need social justice, right? That's why a lot of nowadays and BLM and Black Lives Matter are based on this one. What about the personal sins of a poor? They don't want to work. They want to enjoy life. Sometimes they choose their lifestyle. That's why they're poor. And drinking, and alcohol, and drug, and that's a lot. And that's we evangelize and disciple the poor. It means that you gotta share the gospel and then share the purpose of life. And that God designed, God has for them, right? Plan for them. That is It's not just editing something and idle and not to work. And we already saw a lot of verses from the Bible and work, right? And the lack of material resources. Sometimes we don't have any resources. If you want to get the resource, and then resources, you have to pay a lot. Like nowadays, like this. And it's an example of, like this. And if you are poor, and then the kids, less chance to do well in academic program, academics. If we have a lot, and they send their kids to what? Private academy, right? Private school and really well organized and prepare very well and then spend about $100,000 per year just compared with the public schools. That means that if you poor and lack of material resources, richer people have more opportunities because they have enough material resources and then more monies and then they can use the money to get the what they want, what they prepare for. And then give material resources to the poor. That's a kind of aid, right? Aid. Just think about the reason why they are struggling with the poverty. Make sense, you guys? What about the biblical perspective? Why people are struggling with? Just think about God designs for the human being, and then He wants to have a relationship with the human being. So that's the primary thing, the relationship with God. And we know God, and we worship God, and we enjoy God, and glorify God. That's a basic relationship with the human being, with God. And relationship with the self and be yourself. You are unique, created by image of God. Right? And you have what? You have some worth and the dignity because of God's creations. What about the relationship with others? God created us to live in loving relationship with others. We are not isolated. Why? Just think about it. And God created Adam, and then God doesn't like, because Adam is alone, and what? Created Eve. Relationship with others. Relationship with the rest of the creation. And what? God created everything and give the human beings, Adam and Eve, and then what? Take care of it. Prosper, but take care of his creation. That is just the original design of human beings and the relationship with God. And if it's broken because of the fall. And Adam and Eve violated the covenant with God, right? And the relationship with God is okay and perfect, and it's okay. What about yourself? What about others? What about the rest of the creations? That's the original design, right? But nowadays, think about it, poverty of spiritual intimacy, and nowadays people are they have their own things and building blocks and about poverty of spiritual intimacy, and they deny God. So relationship broken with God, right? That's they are away from God. And God's authorities, and instead what? They fill themselves with materialism and worshiping false gods and spirit. That is a big problem. The spiritual problem. What about the poverty of being yourself? Do you know that the God complexes? And then I look up the dictionaries and then low self-esteem. Just think about that's the kind of uncontrolled narcissism, inflated arrogance, and the perceived need to subjugate or ridicule other individual deemed to be inferior or unworthy. People are really kind of cocky, and they inflate the feeling of what? Personal ability, privileges, or the invulnerability. Oh, I'm strong, I'm enough, right? ignore the possibility of failure and errors, right? That's God complexes, and people are struggling with lower self-esteem. In the other side, what is the poverty of community? So relationship with others, and then we have to help each other and live together, right? But nowadays, and really self-centered. They don't think about others. I'm happy, it's okay. Whatever makes you feel good, and just do it. It's for yourself. Like kind of an attitude. Exploitation and abuse others through their power, through their monies, maybe knowledge, anything. What about the poverty of the stewardship? God gave us to come and take care of all things that we have, materials, and natures, and everything. But loss of the sense of purpose, right? Just try to exploit it, and they don't think about the future. We are struggling with the consequences of our exploitations, like global warmings, pollutions. But still, people are develop. They don't think about nowadays. Try not to use a carbon a lot and coal a lot and gas a lot, right? That's why the trend goes to electric cars. But I don't know how they can, deal with the waste of the batteries and to think about making battery process. And just lazy, sometimes workaholic. They don't think about others and work, and that's a problem. Materialism and then everything is I am the material is good, right? But ground is a currency, so you gotta work. There is power to the stewardship, right? Some of them too excessive. Some of them they don't want to do it. They don't have a balance. That's a problem. What is the poverty? When you think about poverty, remember this sentence, and then poverty is the result of the relationship that do not work, that are not for the life, that are not harmonious or enjoyable. That is not, it's a kind of, this one, it's a result of this one, right? And poverty is the absence of the shalom in all its meaning. Because of that one is no peace. And if you don't work, society is not just, and they are not polite, all the kind of oriented self. And you don't think about others. You don't think about yourself. That's why we don't have a peace in our heart. That's a big things in poverty. So just stop and think about if poverty is rooted in the brokenness of the foundation. Do you know the brokenness and foundation and relationship? Then who are poor? Who are poor? due to the comprehensive nature of the fall, every human being are poor in the sense of not experience this poor relationship way with God's interested. Just think about it, and even though because you don't have not by the material, but if we don't have a right relationship with God, and everybody's poor, right? But just think about it, because because the problem is that in poverty, what is the biggest problem is that given the economy, there is a feeling of inferiority and shame. When Adam and Eve, and when they sinned, and they broke their covenant with God, and then when God told them, when God was telling them, and then they realized that they are naked, and they have a shame. They realize, and they feel shameful like this. That's not. Based on this one, when you try to help the poor, and then think about it. What about this one? And he said that some of the example is that, and then one church in Chicago area, I tried to reach out to the neighbors during the Christmas season, and then there is that. And that's why they chose the kind of poor peoples, and recently found out which families are poor and cannot afford for Christmas gift for children, right? And then they bought a kind of a Christmas gift, and they tried to deliver knock the door. And there's a whole family inside, and then kids and wife is coming out, and they willing to get it all. Thank you. But what about husband? His father, he didn't come out, and he was watching, and he tried to sit, and he ran away. How did the father feel from the situation? Maybe we can give them make children happy, even though he cannot get the gift from their parents, but he can get from others for Christmas. He's happy, but what about parents? Right? Sometimes that's why giving is hurt to others. It's not just to make them happy, hurt to others. Even though you have good intention, and hurt others. So think about it. Our effort to help the poor can hurt both them and ourselves. Just think about it. You try to help them, but somehow just think about it, and they are really struggling with their life, and that's why you help a lot. And I don't know how they feeling is kind of hurt, and they got hurt who received support from you guys. And then sometimes you guys see the people how they spend the money, and sometimes you're hurt because they are struggling with their life, but they spend the money different way. But you are hurt, right? That is hurt both sides. Donors and givers and receivers. So think about, he said very often the North American church find itself locked into the following equations. One, material definition of poverty. When they define poverty, they don't think about the relationship with God, with the relationship with others, and relationship with himself, and relationship with creation. just only the material things. And God complex of materialism, non-poor, materially. So non-poor is, yeah, oh, we can do it if they are really arrogant and prideful. We can do something like this. We don't need God. What about the feeling of inferiority and the materially poor? Just think about all put together. And then harm to both materially poor and non-poor. You hurt others. That is a good point. That is a good point. Then how to alleviate the poverty? How? How can we reconcile the relationship with God and relationship with yourself and community and creation? How? First of all, so we gotta work on the material poverty alleviation, right? Without poverty, with the poverty, they are struggle with life, and it's hard to open their heart to see this relationship. Maybe sometimes it works, but it's not easy. That's why you gotta work on this one, and work is an act of worship, right? And we gotta work. Not just sitting down and receiving like kids. It doesn't work. And nowadays, as a Christians and and Calvinism, and the work is very important. Support yourself. Support the families. This is a way that we can live out with our faith. Right? Workplace is the place that we can show the love of God. That's why the work is not worship is not only the Sunday at church. It's not worship. There's a 2 hour, 1 hour. Our life is worship. Yeah, we gotta remember those things, right? So, when people seek to fulfill their calling by glorifying God and enjoying God in their work and praising Him for the gift and ability and seeing both their effort and the product as an offering to Him, then work is an act of worship to God, right? Just think about work is God gave you ability and environment to prepare, right? And gift and provide everything that we need for the work. But if you are lazy, if you don't want to do it, you cannot do it. That's the mean there, right? So the goal is to see people restored to being what God created them to be, right? That's the goal. How we help the others and help them to reconcile, restore the relationship with God, restore the relationship with self and communities and creation. So nowadays I'm thinking about creation a lot, and we use the kind of disposable stuff without thinking how it's a harmful for nature. So instead of using the disposable stuff, and why don't you use durable things? Yeah, disposable things, and then durable. And then just think about every time you use the disposable things, and then how much it created the trash. You created trash, but what about durable disposable things like glass and plastic is longer lasting, and then use and over and over and over, right? Little bit different way, but think about it. Yeah, that is the goal. That is the goal. And so these things that tends to be happening highly relational, process focused ministry more than the impersonal and product focused ministry. So if you wanna think about this goal, then this is a relational, highly relational. It's not a task oriented. It's not a program oriented, right? Right? And it's not just aid oriented. Relational understanding and process focused ministry. Wow, you need a process to get through and to get out of the poverty, right? Not just material things, just think about spiritual things. This is the foundation, and then you can tackle into the material things. Without this one, well, try. Eventually you help them and make them complexes for themselves. What is a relief? They think about how can they do that, and they suggested three steps. And first, relief, rehabilitation, and development. Relief itself, like kind of when they hit by earthquake and tsunami, and they try to provide a lot of things, like the things that they really need, commodities, right? And sometimes it helps really. That's a relief is kind of urgent things, right? So provide urgent things to cope with the situation. That's a relief. But we spend a lot of things on just the relief. The tsunami and earthquake, and a lot of organization, and people are donating for their own, and they use they need water and rice. That's a relief. Right? They don't think about it long term. What about the rehabilitation? Rehabilitation is kind of after relief, you provide kind of a COVID emergency situation, and then it was restore the peoples and community to positive element of the pre-crisis conditions. And how can we restore? Right? Restore peoples and community to the positive element of the So think about people, and they try to go back, and then they try to help them go back, and then we can overcome this crisis, the consequence of a crisis. That's rehabilitation, though. Just think about rehabilitation. Something has happened, and who got a car accident, and then they need physical therapy to walk again, and then what? And surgery thing like a Tiger Woods, and then first of all you gotta do surgery, fix it, and that's a relief. After that, what? He needs to, if he wants to walk and rehabilitation, he need practice with guidance by the physical therapies, how to work and work and work. Think about, oh, I can work, I can walk, right? I can walk. Like this, the accident. That's the rehabilitation though. So they can in rehabilitation is not by yourself, not the provider. Yeah, and the rehabilitation is what? The people who are in crisis and they participate in what? Their own recovery. They need to participate. Oh, I don't need it, I cannot do it, and they're sitting down and just you guys provide our need and that's a relief, and then you cannot change their situation. That's why we gotta think about the rehabilitation process. What about the development process? And then they rehab and then come back and how can live a life? How can see the future? Right? That's a development. And development is a process of going on change that moves all the people involved in what? Helpful and helped. Close to being in right relationship with God, self, others, and the creation. So, yeah, through the development, they are better able to fulfill their calling of glorifying God by working and supporting themselves, their families with the fruit of their work. And what? Their life is getting better than before, right? And the development is that it's not just done to the people for the people, right? This is a relief for what? With the people. You gotta work with something. You cannot do everything by yourself. They was the poor should participate in the process. And they have to develop their own things. Right? That's 3 steps we gotta remember though. There is effective relief. How to split the effective relief? Seldom, immediately, and temporarily. If you do this one, if you immediately and temporarily, it's not effective aid. Never. You gotta remember this one. Sometimes people got hurt more than before, and then I heard from my friend, and what the tsunami hit Fukushima in Japan, a lot of organizations came into the village and city and helped the people in a month. After months, and then they left. Charitable organization left. They don't help the people really rebuild their life there. So the people I heard from my friend who is working with them, and they continue to, the people in Japan and Japanese group of people continue to go to the village, and they know who they are, and they embrace them. But other charitable organizations, they say no. Just think about the process, and after relief, and then it's not, the problem is not solved for them. It just starts to work. Who's gonna support? Who's gonna provide materials? Right? That's why temporary and immediate, it doesn't work. So always think about and relief not itself, but this is really temporary, but in rehabilitation, their kind of heart need to be healed. And their attitude kind of refreshed, psychologically, mentally, physically. And what about, and then they need to, that's why they said, doing relief and rehabilitation is developmentally. Developmentally. If we don't do developmentally and that's all, then it doesn't help others anymore. There is some idea about initial participation of the affected population in the assessment, designs, and let people kind of part of them to overcome the in development. Conduct initial assessment to provide understanding of the disaster situation and determine the nature of the response. So you gotta analyze and you have to think about it, right? What about response? Respond when needs of the affected people population are met by the local people or the organization due to their inability or unwillingness to help. That's what we need, right? That time you need it. Your support is needed to develop. And target assistance based on vulnerability and needs and provide equally and impartially. Okay? Impartially. But sometimes when you go outside and kind of organization doesn't work together and don't work together and then they compete each other because of the result. Our organization this and this and this, they want to show the statistics, they want to show how much they did for them to donors, right? That's a big another mess. So aid workers must possess appropriate qualification, attitude, and experience to plan and effectively implement appropriate system programs. That is a kind of give some idea about how to develop the communities. But one thing you gotta remember the paternalism. Have you heard of paternalism? Like it's a parent and children relationship. Well, children kind of rely on the what? Parents. Parents kind of restrict the children's responsibility and freedom, right? So children are supposed to kind of be submissive to parents to get what they want. No independence. The kind of paternalism, right? Paternalism. So paternalism is a system under which its authority undertakes to supply, lead, or regulate the conduct of those under its control in matter affecting them as individual as well as in the relations to authority and to each other. That's a kind of definition by the dictionaries. And then before I give them kind of examples, but this is dictionary definitions. So think about paternalism is not really good. So always make it depends on the helper. Without helper, they cannot do anything. So do not do things for people that they can do for themselves. Okay? Do not do things for people that they can do for themselves. Just if they can do, and just let them do it. And read about the kind of short missions articles, and the natives said people are coming and help the gardening and painting. They say, who can do it? Right? They can do it. Sometimes they don't have enough money to buy the material. Sometimes they don't have anything to buy the material. And then we can provide. So resource paternalism, controlled with the resources, and spiritual paternalism. Spiritually, like pastor and congregation rely on the pastor, but our Protestant and Reformed theologian, we go to God by ourselves without pastors. Like Catholic is a little bit different than Protestant. Still, Protestant and Christians, and then they can confess their sins to God in prayer by themselves. But Catholic, always they have the confession to priest, right? And knowledge paternalism. They don't educate the people. So simply get the kind of labors and then controls people. But nowadays, a lot of people are coming out and learn about, and I don't know whether you guys have time, and then if you have time and watch the Poverty Inc. It's a documentary, Poverty Inc. And then you can see what is the charitable non-profit organizations doing out there. Local people don't like it. They are really thankful for what they bring, shoes and clothes and food. They are really thankful. After that, we got shoes and we got food, and then we spend all and nothing left. Right? Because they don't give them knowledge and skills of how they survive in the climate. They can plant agricultural stuff. They don't teach how to agriculture and how to raise plant and all kind of stuff, right? Labor paternalism. What about the management paternalism? Taking systems, work. So it's a lot of different ways that people control others, right? And colonialism is based on that one. Nowadays, neo-colonialism, like it's not a material stuff, but still controls people's labors and their skills and knowledges, because they don't have enough material to develop to make their own things. But who has money, who has power, and then they try to do that and control. Okay, based on that one, so far we thought about how people donate and how much and how many organizations work for that, and then what is the cause of the problem in biblical perspective, and then how can we develop them, treat them, right? Here is a specific, asset-based community development. That is a way that they propose, and then they see the ABCD, asset-based community development. This one is a SIG, foster reconciliation of the people's relationship with God. So that's really priority. But they don't want to stay there. consistent with the perspective that God has blessed every individual community with a host of gifts. So everybody, every culture has a gift, including such as diverse things as land, social network, and knowledge, animals, saving, intelligence, and schools, and creativity, and production equipment. They have their own things God gave in their environment. They developed their wisdom to survive in the environment. Right? That's they are looking for, and they want to see. They want to use it. ABC. And then ABC puts emphasis on what materially poor people already have and ask them to consider from the start. I would say it's a start. Okay, even the poor people, they have something. Not enough, but they have poor. They cannot meet the standard of the life, certain standard. And they already have and ask them to consider from the start. What is right, what's right with you? What gift has God given to you that you can use to improve your life and that of your neighbors? How can the individual and organization in your community work together to improve your community? Like this, and let them think about it, right? Let them think about what they have, let them think about how can use it. It's not, we don't just provide what they need, right? And ABC, just looking outside instead of looking outside the low-income individual community for resource and solution, no, it's not. But it start asking the material for how they can be steward with their own gifts and resources. Even though they are poor, but they have gifts, they have resources. But even though it's really, really limited, right? It means that we can try to get rid of the shame, we try to get rid of the inferiority, right? So seeking to restore the individual and community to being what God has created them to be from the very start of a relationship, from the beginning. So that's ABC, and started to see them as God does, helping us to overcome our sense of superiority. So a lot of people from the Western society and developed countries always has a problem, superiority. They look down on the people who are not educated and poor. Yeah, I had experience, and then I was really pissed off, and then I took the team to the Mexico. It's a really inner city area, and then they went to other missions and with us, but in the beginning from the travel, they have a lot of preparation. They never prepared well, and they don't listen to me, and then they just part of it. And I don't know. I know why they want to join the trip, and then during we tried to do as an English camp. We tried to teach some English, and then the guy, he said, so stupid. They don't know this one. So easy. Just think about it. The foreign language, I know sometimes they learn, but the poor people, they don't go to school a lot, and they barely try to finish the high school, but a lot of people drop out high school. They barely make their living day by day. He is really affluent. Their parents make enough, more than enough, right? He doesn't understand. He needs to go to academy, whatever he needs and family provide. Well, I don't know how excellent he's in terms of academics, in compared with the other people. But I don't care about. But what I try to say is that, well, don't look down on them. Don't ignore them. If you live in America and if you are from the developed countries, you have a lot of benefit that people, compared with the people don't have, poor, don't have any resources, materials, right? Don't be cocky, don't be prideful, don't be arrogant. Even though they are poor, they have dignity of a human being. They created by the image of God. Socio-economic status is a little different from us. But in God's eye, we are same. We are same. Same sinners. Maybe people who have more, they can do more bad things. Never, right? Think about the need-based development. It's a little bit different. Need-based development is focused on what is lacking of the life of community or person. And the assumption this approach is that what? The solution to poverty depends on outside human and financial resources. A lot of churches are trying to do need-based and relief. They don't think about rehabilitation. They don't think about development. So ABCD is different from the need-based, right? Like you can just think about, you cannot provide forever and ever. Once they know and then they create their own things and they sustain, and maybe it's okay. But otherwise, just feel the need and then you cannot do it forward. You stopped and maybe you don't do it at all. Went back to the Uriya people. Yeah, so that one is kind of a thing. They don't think about sustainable, right? But if it is sustainable, and we need to develop something. But without them, just need-based and need-based development is kind of it's not sustainable at all. You just provide their needs for 1 month, for days and weeks, that's all. I just want you to know the kind of a key element of the ABC development. And first of all, maybe you have in your note and then identify, mobilize capabilities, skills, and resources of the individual or community. Even though they are poor, and they think about what they have and find out what they have. First of all, so as much as possible, look for the resources and solutions to come from within the individual community, not from outside. Okay? A lot of aids and relief from outside the job. They don't think about how overcome the problem. I know natural disaster, it's a limitation there to we can overcome, but we can minimize, right? We can minimize. If you build a little bit, you build the building in different way, protection from the protection from the what? The earthquake, like America, and then less damage. But look at the buildings, no foundations really, no support, seek to build and rebuild the relationship among the local individuals and associations and churches, business, and then, yeah, develop the relationship with the local people. It's not just go and, oh, I have money, and don't hire the local people and pay to do something, right? And what about only bring outside resources when local resources are insufficient to solve the pressing needs, right? They have not enough, and then that's why we need to do it. Bring some resources from outside, not all the time. Just think about, be careful about bringing in resources that are too much or too early, right? Too early and they're not gonna do it. Too much, they're gonna abuse it. Yeah, do this in a manner that does not undermine local capacity and initiative. Just think about the capacity of the local people, right? And that one is really, consider the local peoples. There is three common approach to the ABCD. So asset mapping. So better term is this approach may be asset inventory. So try to mapping as an inventory means that you gotta find out what they have, how much they have, right? You need it. You gotta understand it. That's a simple way. And participatory learning and action, PLA, and let them participate at the meeting and education, and think about their community history and assets and survival strategies and goals, and then you gotta educate them. Yeah. So participatory learning and action is the process are designed to affirm the community members' knowledge skills in order to empower them to take greater ownership of their fruit, right? Give them the ownership. Ownership is not from outside, right? But that's a problem though. A lot of people go in and they don't give them ownership. They make a paternal relationship and create a dependency. Right? Well, always think about that one. That was really important. If you do church mission and then if you do secular, not secular kind, not religious, aid, and just think about how can build up the local people, and appreciative inquiries, kind of similar to the mapping, and appreciative inquiry is a focus on what is right, good in community, the past as a means of creating the more positive futures. Just then look back and what is better than before. Though, it's a appreciative inquiry approach. ABC asks for individual community to consider questions in 4 part of the process: discovery, what keeps alive, finding the best of the what is, kind of appreciating, and dream, what might be, and what is the God's calling, envision and impact. Just think about dreaming, and what is the dialogue, and what should be the idea, work together, and delivery, what is working, how increase it, sustaining. There's four parts of the process, so you need it. And think about it. It's not just non-religious non-profit organization. Just based on faith, faith-based non-profit organization. That's why discovery. So what gives life, finding best what it is, and kind of appreciating. Just think about it and dreaming and what should be, and what is working, what is not working. So maybe if you read a book and if you are really interested, and maybe you can read a book. It give you more understanding, right? That is it. And participatory continuum, and also maybe maybe you can push it a little bit, and they follow you, and work together, kind of discuss together, and then how can you work together, and then kind of leading together, and then community initiate the local people their own agenda and mobilize the chaos. Outside. That's the kind of a process, and they help you. How can you give them leadership, ownership? So how can we start ministry missions for those who are suffering from poverty? Just think about it. If you are doing the mission, overseas mission, and just think about the situation, how you guys are doing. Need-based relief or just need-based development? Or try to the ABC. That's the base, community development. Always think about the cause of the poverty. What's the original design? What problem is there? Right? I hope that today lecture gives you some idea about how can help the poverty, so kind of redistribute your wealth to the people who are really in need, and then it's really helpful to stand their own feet by themselves, right? By themselves, not for you and your organization, your church. Sometimes they don't have their own ownership, or they don't have it's not sustainable, and then that's all. Long time ago, and a lot of missionaries built a lot of churches in the African countries, and then they said that it's enough. But they don't have enough ownership, and then when a missionary left, and then church what? They don't care about the church, and just church left empty, and demolished, eroded little by little. They said, this is not our church, it's your church. Why don't you come and fix it? Like that. It's a kind of one of the examples of a failure of development. Kind of limited, but try to give you some idea about how we use our donation, how we do reach out to people who are in really need, and then just maybe your donation is make your donation effective in using wisely. So I hope that you guys some idea from the today lectures, and that's helping others, and